Hello, my name is Ryan. I'm 25. I've been cubing for 13 years. I'm a medical student. And I care a lot about this video, or the topic in this video that Brandon True posted. I like Brandon True's content. I've been watching it since he started making videos. I think he makes really nice, well informative, and helpful videos. I do have some opinions on this video though. I have some strong opinions about cubing in general, and this specific topic is something that I've probably thought more about than anyone else. I really like hand anatomy, and I have thought a lot about this, and I've been planning on making a video kind of similar to this one, kind of in the same vein. So I'm just going to be reacting to this video. I haven't seen all of it. I saw some stuff that I agreed with, some stuff that I disagreed with. So we're just gonna get into it. This is just gonna be my reaction to Mr. True's video.
I researched over a dozen different scientific studies to figure out the
biologically optimal way to turn a Rubik's Cube. If you're new here, my name's Brandon. Every single week, I make a training plan for how I'm gonna work on Rubik's Cubes, log all of it in a bunch of spreadsheets,
Okay.
then I make a video like this where I review my training plan and how I'm gonna get better at training. My long-term goal is to be a finalist at a major championship for everything from 3x3 up to 7x7 by the end of 2031. So in today's video, I'm gonna talk about all this research I've done about what makes a biologically optimal training style. How do the muscles, joints, and ligaments in your fingers and wrists work in relation to how you turn a Rubik's Cube? What is good and bad biologically and relating to like how your muscles and joints work? Then I'm gonna go over what I did last week and how I'm gonna train over the course of next week.
I don't have anything to say, sorry.
My next competition is Sini Mini. It's on Saturday in 5 or 6 days now. I'm doing 3x3, one-handed, and 2x2, but the only one I care about is 3x3. I'm sponsored by thecubicle.com and typicals
Don't care about this.
and slow motion videos of how team.
This isn't the point of this video. But I think these are cool. It's nice that he's going over algs. I think this is a little excessive. This is a good choice. These are all probably better than what he was
all his
using,
OLs and PLLs. And I found a whole bunch of things that I changed, which I will show you the details on the new algorithms in a second. But the thing is, as I was doing this, I had this question. If I'm going to be changing all this stuff about the algorithms I do and how I turn and all this, is there a specific way to turn that is biologically optimal?
Yes. But he does not describe it in this video.
Do certain fingers move faster than others? Are certain finger motions faster or slower than others? Is there a way to turn that is biologically less or more fatiguing? Is there some way I can train my fingers to move faster? So,
my husband used to ejaculate prematurely until this.
That's
my
crazy.
Is ejaculating so fast, and when he gets so anxious about it, it's starting to feel like a choke. He used to be.
The short answer to all those questions is there is no clear, objectively faster way to turn. There are logically good ways to turn, and there's a lot of interesting tidbits from my research that I'm about to share with you that I think are kind of cool. All the sources are going to be linked below. So some of the...
So I'll start with my general opinion on the stuff that Brandon talks about in this video. I think so. First of all, obviously none of these studies are on cubing, so there's limited carryover. Some of them are just like straight up not analogous at all. Some of these studies I think is more applicable to cubing. Some of them are less applicable to cubing. I'll tell you, I've read all these studies before this video came out, except for the one that came out in January. One of these came out like in January 2026. I hadn't seen this one, but this one's kind of old. This one's kind of old. I have already seen all these. And they have limited application, and I'll talk about my problems with each one of them as we get to
the studies that I looked at like 12 or 13 of them. Some of them were about rock climbers, because rock climbers do lots of training of their fingers in different positions because they have to hang.
Not analogous at all.
From little fingertips. A lot of studies about how pianist fingers work in relation to how they do in performance versus in practice.
More analogous.
Typists. How do kids who are first learning to type activate their muscle versus advanced typists?
I think typing is probably the most analogous. Typing and piano are probably the most analogous to cubing of anything that I can think of. Typing specifically, because typing is very like velocity oriented.
versus professional
And I
stenographers.
think
And then there's a whole bunch
I found a paper on this that I think is probably the closest to something that we could do for cubing on humanoid robot developers. It wasn't one that he linked, but where'd it go? Was it this one? No. I think it was this one actually. Nope, that's the one he linked. This is the Independence one. Where'd it go? Oh no, it was this one. Right? Yeah, okay. I don't know if this is one that he linked or not, but this one is really interesting. It's it's basically what he's talking about here. I'm not going to talk about this one too much because I don't think it's very applicable, but I think this is a good model if we were to ever do like a study on cubing.
of studies from people who are developing either humanoid robots or prosthetic hands, because what they want to understand is, how does a human hand work? How can the fingers and ligaments move? How fast can they move? What is their range of motion? Which joints are responsible for what? So lots of interesting research has actually been done on this topic. Hand, lots of interesting stuff on there about hand anatomy.
Okay, so I have a little bit of issue with the way that he presents this information. First of all, just from like a very basic perspective, the joints are like not as relevant to cubing. Like the names of the joints and the motions that the joints do are important. I think the musculature is probably a lot more useful to know than like the names of the joints. Like if you had to choose one thing to teach people about hand anatomy that's relevant to cubing, I don't think it would be this.
The short version of what I found is each of your fingers has 3 main joints that we care about.
I count 2.
There's this top joint up here at
Your
the
thumb
top,
has one less.
between the highest part of your finger and the middle bone of your finger, the distal joint. Then there's the proximal joint, which is the second one down. And then this joint here, which is your knuckle. It's this long metacarpophalangeal, whatever. That one. So hand cam.
MCP,
Not that,
DIPP.
this. So there's this top joint right here. Each of the has 2, one here, one here. All those muscles run up your arm. So when you move your finger, you can see the muscle in my forearm moving as my pointer finger wiggles. So I'm moving my pointer finger back and forth. You can see the muscle in my also matter.
This doesn't matter that much, but like there are muscles that the only ones that run up your forearm are the extrinsic muscles, and they're called that because they are not isolated in your hand. They run up your wrist. There's a bunch of intrinsic muscles in your hand as well. Not a lot of them are particularly relevant to cubing. I think the one that's most relevant is the one it actually doesn't matter. I'm wasting time.
Angle of your wrist affects the leverage and speed of the nerves that are going to travel.
No. The angle of your wrist affects your ability to move your hand. That's like very obvious. Like if you do like this, you can't really move your hand. That's very obvious. It does not affect the speed of your nerves
To your fingers. So
unless you have carpal tunnel syndrome.
anyway, that's the basics of the anatomy here. Is you've got 3 joints in each finger. Wrist joint also matters. And the questions that I had as I was researching this was, how fast can each finger move? Does it change?
It's interesting that he says that this is the question that he researched the most. My face cam's kind of in the way. Let me hop this over here. I think it's interesting that he says that this is his primary literature review target, because none of the stuff that he cites is really about this.
Change whether you're going out or in. How strong is each finger? Because that can change what moves you can do on a big cube versus a small cube. How much
I'll talk about that
endurance
point
do your
later.
fingers have for long sessions versus short sessions? And then range of motion is also interesting. Like how complex of a finger trick can you do? Some people can do like pull the U layer around with their index finger. Like Kyungmin Choi showed me some of his literally pulls with his index. How this stuff works.
Okay.
It's a looking finger trick. Kyle Santucci sometimes will do a B move where he
No, he doesn't do that in solves, bro. It's like it's like a party trick. Like, he does not do B moves with his index finger mid-solve, I
literally pulls
promise.
his index finger, which is totally nuts to me. That's range of
Fami
motion.
does that shit,
So
though.
lots of different questions here
In
about how
OH.
this stuff works. A couple of terms. Flexion is when you curl a finger closer to you, and extension is when you push it out.
That's
so this
totally
is flexion.
reasonable
That's what you would do for this kind of move, flexion. Same thing for a pinch R move, that's flexion right there. And then extension is where you push a finger out. So this is extension, this is extension. Both
totally
of those are very
reasonable
frequently
explanation.
utilized in solves. A movement like this isn't really flexion or extension because you're just kind of articulating around a joint. So in your arm, this is going to be the difference between your bicep, which controls flexion, and your tricep, which controls extension. Fingers have the same thing. There are different sets of muscles and ligaments that train both. So across all the research that I studied,
This conclusion I'm trying to figure out how to word this without sounding harsh. I don't think that the research that he shows in this video corroborates this conclusion. And I'll explain why in a sec.
Don't start your day with a gross piece of plastic in your hand. Adding to the 4 billion plastic toothbrushes that get...
there is no measurable speed.
The main problem, the main reason is what I already said. Is that the carryover to cubing is limited in these studies, very, very limited. And in this specific statement is supported by one of the studies that he talks about in a very specific subset of hand movements. And we'll get to that.
Difference between your fingers flexing and your fingers extending. And so practically what that means is your fingers can move equally as fast this way versus this way. Pinch moves or flicks are not inherently better or worse than push moves.
This is the part of the video that I disagree with the strongest. And I'll get to why. But the data that he shows does not support this conclusion.
From the pure perspective of how fast can your fingers and joints move. However, flexion, which is curling your finger, is much stronger.
I don't think strength matters, like, even a little bit for cubing. Like, I'm gonna be real. If you can hold the cube, the strength of the musculature is like secondary to velocity, obviously. Strength is a measure of force production. The amount of force that you can put into the Rubik's Cube, like if I'm holding the cube and I'm like pushing my finger as hard as I can onto the corner, that does not carry over to velocity of the moves that you're doing. That's not the same thing. And I know that Brandon knows this. He says that. He's about to say that. But he says something that right after this that I just like, I'm so perplexed about.
Than extension is. So one of the studies that I looked at studied a whole bunch of experienced rock climbers. And what
Okay, actually, he says this. He says the thing. He says that later.
they noticed is that when rock climbers train their fingers, they mostly train with their fingers in a curled position.
So I really don't like the use of the rock climber study for cubing. It's just not an analogous situation. The rock climbing study is essentially, is it this one? It's basically, he gives a pretty good summary here.
They'll curl their fingers and hang off of some sort of hangboard or grip.
Sorry, I'm really
and
tired.
That makes their flexion a whole lot stronger than their ability to extend. But on top of that, when people would exclusively train their extension, the flexion side of their fingers still got stronger than extension. So whether you were training the outward or inward motion of your fingers,
No one trains extension. They trained, like no one in real life goes out of their way to train their ability to open their hand. It's just not a useful thing. It was for the purposes of this study. They told them like we're gonna measure we're gonna train extension strength. It's not. I don't know. We're in the weeds
the
here.
curl inward motion biomechanically is stronger than the extension
Yes,
motion.
very
So
obviously.
I thought that was interesting because of cubing, that speaks to which finger tricks you should prioritize if you're using slow cubes. on big cubes if you want precision. Strength matters more than speed.
Okay.
Which finger trick you should prioritize if you're using slow cubes, if you're on big cubes, if you want precision.
He says, if you want precision, strength matters more than speed. I don't understand that at all. Is my camera lagging? One sec. Okay, forgive me. This video is off the cuff and I don't edit shit, so we're gonna have to live with it. He says,
That speaks to which finger trick you should prioritize if you're using slow cubes, if you're on
we'll put it at 1x.
big cubes, if you want precision. Strength matters more than speed.
If you want precision, strength matters more than speed. I don't understand that conclusion at all. He says this and doesn't elaborate on it. He just says it like a foregone conclusion that grip strength affects your ability to turn the cube precisely. The precision of your movements of your hands is not a result of how strong your grip strength is or how much you can squeeze the cube or like any of that. Delicate movements are a result of trained. It's neuromuscular. It's muscle memory. It's not, I'm squeezing this cube. Part of it is development of those muscles. Like when you're holding a 7x7 and it has to sit on your pinky for 2 minutes. That's strength. But picking which layer you're turning in the 7x7 has nothing to do with strength. Even in any cube, the only strength aspect is literally just like holding the cube. That is the only part of cubing that is strength related. The force production that you can make is relevant, but it's not like the most important measurement, and it certainly isn't a measure of how precise you can move your fingers.
Speed. Another interesting thing that I found is that your fingers move at half speed independently versus connected as part of your whole hand. So this was in one of the studies where robotic hand designers.
Which one is this? Is it this one? Yeah, I don't care. I'm going to be real. This isn't relevant to cubing at all. I'm not moving all of my fingers together during cubing. So like there's no finger trick on there's no finger trick on the cube where I'm like I don't know. I don't know why he brought this up. It's not really useful.
Put these sensory gloves over healthy people's hands, and they just tracked how each of the fingers moved on their own.
Is he gonna like
Something
show
they
any of these
noticed
studies?
Was that if you make a fist and then reopen your fist, the peak speed of each finger is almost
This is what
twice
he's
as
talking
fast
about.
as if you're independently opening or
Right.
closing one finger at a time. And that's because the musculature in all your fingers is connected. If you move one of your fingers, you can see the other one.
It's less because this is, again, not particularly important. Like, I'm in the weeds a little bit. But it's not because the musculature is connected. Like, it is a little bit. The tendon is like, your tendon for your extensors and your flexors do have interconnection. It's more because of the neuromuscular units, though, which is something that you can train. This was not in... Bro, that is a crazy lifting callus. Yo, shout out the lifting callus, bro. This is crazy. Bro's been in the gym. Yeah, these are in like regular ass people. I promise you, if you were to take the same measurements from like a pianist, a cuber, typist, the independence of your hands and the force production that you're able to produce per finger would be closer to your total grip strength because you're training the neuromuscular units. But it's not just because they're all connected. It's more of a muscle memory thing that this is such an ingrained thing in our brain.
Together, you can travel much faster, twice as fast biologically across the sample that they had, versus your entire.
I don't think it was. I don't.
Hand moving at once.
He doesn't show the studies, and he's not pointing to.
But
I think he has some inaccurate conclusions about this, but I actually don't really care to.
Thought it was interesting.
Like, it's not really that important. Like I said, I don't think this has any carryover to cubing anyway.
Wait, I already did that one. Yeah, skip.
This is important. This is the most important study that he talks about in this video, and I'll show it since he doesn't. This is the pianist one. Yes, this is the one he's talking about. The kinematics and muscle activation of the wrist and finger vary with typing skills. Basically, the better of a typist you are, and the more trained you are at typing, the fewer muscles are activated in your hand, because the neuromuscular unit, the muscle memory, what we call, is trained so that you are doing less movements every time you make a keystroke. Like, your typing is efficient because you are so comfortable with typing that you're moving less muscles. That's my summary. I think Brandon's summary is also fine. This is the most important one, and I'll tell you what the conclusion of this is. He says it later as well.
We're learning how to type, and they studied the muscle activation in their forearm, which older, faster
Let's crank
typists
this speed up. I'm
activated
bored.
different muscles. It's just that they activated certain things less often. So let me try and explain this. When you're typing, there's two motion against the key because it's pushing back up against you. But when you let go, you can kind of let the spring guide your finger back up. The new typists had their muscles activated for the whole way down and the whole way up, which meant that they were stiff at multiple points and trying to control both their finger going down and up. But the experienced typists kind of let their fingers ride the keys back up as they typed. They used the springiness of the key that is turn themselves, not turn. Do almost all of the super fast kids in China do with their cubes? Well, they almost all use extremely light, fast GAN cubes. Some use Modu cubes. They put them on, and they train themselves on these extremely light, fast cubes so that they don't have to push each turn as far before it auto-completes the turn for them. And that's what they train their muscles to. A lot of NA cubers are from an older generation.
Yeah, I agree with all of this.
Of cubing where their puzzles were slower or thicker. And so they have literally trained their muscles to activate more often or different.
I don't think preferring slow cubes means that your muscles are activating for more of the turn. Maybe it does. I don't know. Actually, yeah, that's fine. That's a fine conclusion to make.
A lot of the stuff this typing study was talking about. So there is like an objective argument for fast, loose cubes. Timon calls it.
So I answer these one by one. Are flicks better than extensions? Yes. None of the sources he cites have any indication of isolated finger movements. They are all based on grip strength. All of the studies that he's citing to come to the conclusion that extensions and flicks are better than, we're going to call them pushes. All of the studies that he cites are grasping. Hand robot designers love the grasp because it is a very fundamental action of our hand. And it's very like ingrained in our brain. Like, everyone knows how to do this. It's like very basic. It's this is a reflex actually in babies. And then our frontal lobe, doesn't matter. All of the studies that the main point that I want to get at is that all of the studies that he's citing are based on this, which is not a thing that we do in cubing. We do not do this. We do this. We do this. There's no carryover here. There's no study that I'm aware of that is currently out there that measures individual angular velocity of each finger in isolation and extension in isolation. I'm trying to find the one that I saw. I highlighted something in one of these. Where did it go? Okay. Oh, I also thought this was interesting. I forgot to talk about this. This study does not actually measure this guy, which is fine. Like, sorry, the distal, the DIP joint. It has sensors on these two joints, and then it calculates the like supposed what we think the angular velocity of the DIP is. So when you're doing this, it like measures these and calculates this. I don't think that's a big deal. I just thought it was interesting that they didn't have the sensors for the DIP joint. This guy can only move in relation to these. Some people can do this, which is fine, but you can't move this guy without moving it. It doesn't matter. But I just thought that was interesting. There's not a sensor on the DIP during this. I'm rambling. Sorry, my Adderall's wearing off. But yeah, so this is, I'll go, but Brandon's done talking about the research. I'm not. We're going to go study by study, and I'm going to tell you why these are good for cubing, like good to relate to cubing and bad to relate to cubing. Grip strength in climbers. Not relevant. Like I already talked about, strength is like almost a non-factor in like comparing to cubing. So I don't really like that this was included. I don't really think it's important. He uses this to argue that grip strength and extension strength are like the same. It's not what the conclusion is. Well, no, I'm sorry. He recognizes that grip strength is stronger, but he talks about the kinetics. So that's not a good study. This one is, we'll go to the study design. Where'd it go? Introduction, procedures. Okay. They were asked to use right hand to perform a grip and release motion as quickly as possible while trying to ensure that, so they're doing this. And that's all that they're measuring. Each finger in this motion. And then I really like this. I really like this diagram, by the way. Yeah, this is range of motion. Sorry, I had a bunch of stuff highlighted and then it didn't save, so. Okay. Peak velocity for each kind of joint did not differ across the 4 long fingers during flexion. Because we're doing this, so naturally, it makes sense that the velocity of each finger in a motion where the goal is to have them in the same spot is roughly approximately equal. And then no significant difference in peak extension velocity of the same joint among long fingers. So, again, I don't see how this carries over to cubing. You're doing this. Like, the coordinated action of closing your hand is significantly different than what we do in cubing, where I'm really going for the Cuban, huh? Like, this is just a different thing, and like using the comparison of velocity doing this to say that like the finger velocities are the same during different motions, or like grip strength, flexion, and extension are the same. I don't think that's true. I don't think any biomechanics expert would be like, yeah, flexion and extension are like the same thing. Like we have the same force production or the same velocity production doing this that we do for the other joints. Like that's just nonsense. So I don't like how this one applies to cubing. This is another one that he linked. I believe this is the glove guy. Okay, this is the one he was talking about with the peak extension velocity. I think this table is interesting. I wish that they presented it better. This one's like basically incomprehensible. This is a position versus time curve. So not really important. How do I get out of this? Oh, it's a different tab. Yeah, so this is the same thing though. I'll find the study design. This is the one that I was talking about. So the two tasks, forceful making of a fist, gradual making of a fist, quickly grasping a regulation-sized baseball, and then slowly grasping the baseball. So again, all coordinated whole hand movements, which is fine. It's a good study. There's like application, and you can learn stuff about cubing from this. I think it has limited utility. I will say that it does pretty clearly demonstrate that let's go for the fast tasks. I think that's the most relevant. Number one, your index finger. This is peak flexion velocity, peak extension velocity. So number one, your index finger is way faster than the rest of your guys during the flexion task. And number two, they get like progressively weaker as you go down. I don't think the difference between like the DIP and PIP and the MCP joints, I don't think that matters like even a little bit. I'm gonna be real, none like for cubing. So I don't know. Same thing. Same critique of this study is that it doesn't have carryover to cubing, like just straight up. This is the typist one. Again, I think this is probably the most relevant to cubing. And I'll tell you why in a bit, what conclusions you can draw from this, but I think it's a really important study. This one is this is a systematic review that he linked in the description. I don't know why. It's about piano stuff, and he doesn't really talk about it, and it's not really useful, and I don't like meta-analysis, so did he link this one, or was this one that I pulled up? Oh, this is for independence. Your thumb and your index finger are the most independent, like able to move without affecting the others. That's pretty self-explanatory, but this is just the data for that. Like you can move your thumb by itself better than you can move like your ring finger by itself. I was going to talk about this one, but they have some interesting joint velocity stuff in that, but they don't have the data. So, this is one, does he link this one, or is this one that I pulled up? No. Okay, I think this paper is really interesting, and this is, we'll stop the lit review after I talk about this one. I think this is very similar to what we could do for cubing. This is a hand modeling for like prosthesis, basically, or maybe it's for robotics. It might be for robotics. I don't really care, but there's a velocity portion of this. There's a whole lot of math. You don't need to understand it. Where was it? Did I highlight it? Oh, my highlights got lost. Yeah, so I think this is interesting. The movement pattern of the fingers was significantly different between fingers joints and different tasks. I think that's probably the most important thing to take away from what I'm trying to tell you is that the task matters and the fingers are all different, obviously. And we can't really draw conclusions from other studies about cubing because we're doing a different thing. Like, as much as I wish we had glove sensor analysis for like on Yihang or something, there's no data that really works. Like, unless you're studying the thing that you want to talk about, you can like speculate all you want. And I do hella speculating on this topic. But ultimately, like, the only thing that matters is like what fast people do. The proof is in the pudding. Like, fast people do this, you should do this too. Like, if someone can turn at 15 TPS, you should be doing what they're doing. Like, end of sentence. So, yeah, I don't like the literature that Brandon presented for the most part. I think that the typist thing was really important. We're going to move on, though. I'm yapping like crazy. So, okay. In order to answer these questions correctly, are flicks better than extensions? Yes. Are pinch F turns better than thumb turns? Yes. Are there any biologically slow bad motions? Yes. Are there really good ones? Yes. And the biologically slow bad ones are anything that isn't a flick. The really good ones are everything that's a flick.
Of exploding cubes, there's an objective argument for that being better if you have trained yourself to be used to it. So as I was reading all this stuff, I had a few specific questions. Are flicks better than extensions is the one that prompted me to do all this, but there were more. Are pinch F turns better than thumb F turns? Are there any motions biologically that are inherently bad or slow? Are there any really good and overpowered ones that we should always be doing?
They're gonna love my resume, but I gotta find the right word. Not.
So I gave you some general thoughts, and I want to answer these particular questions. Fundamental principles.
I really agree with most of the stuff that he says about the fundamentals. I think that his conclusions that follow are not good. Having a consistent stabilizing grip. Very, very simple. Yes, that's what you should have. Your home grip should be pinky on the bottom, these two fingers here, and then index finger somewhere doing some other stuff. And then you can do this. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Minimize distance traveled. This is the most important thing that you will get from this video. Less is more. Okay? The least motion that you can do to complete the turn is what you should be aspiring to. And that's kind of a subjective thing to say, least motion, because like you can interpret that in varying degrees, but less is more. The reason Yihang can turn at 15 turns per second is because every single turn that he does is the least possible effort to get to the next turn so that he can just like throw them all together and turn at 15 TPS. So yeah, this is what the typist study is basically about. Basically that study is like proof of the concept of less is more. The good typists are doing the least amount of work to complete the task as possible because they are experienced. This applies to typing, piano, drumming is like a really big concept in drums. Any musical instrument, less is more. You want to do as little as possible to achieve the desired effect. So that's true of turning as well. Number 3.
Well, these are not like biologically this is how your muscles work. For the most part, 3 is. But these are the principles that I would have.
I don't know what he means by coke contraction.
So if you're holding the cube, you should not be re-gripping your hands all the time to make new turns. So if you have to do this every time you turn the front, you're changing your stabilizing grip every time you want to do an F turn. If you're doing this every time you want to turn the front, that's okay. Excuse me. But your thumb has to move, and your thumb is stabilizing the cube. It is what is holding the puzzle. It ends up being like 2 fingers, and your thumb is always one of them, right? If you move your thumb, you're changing your stabilizing grip. That's why F moves like this.
Thumb Fs are bad, but that's
this
not
finger
why.
has nothing to do with the stability of the cube. You can pull this off with no changing of your stabilizing grip, which is why pinch F is inherently better than thumb F. The second principle is to minimize the distance travel. So this sounds odd, putting your finger from here. It is inherently better a lot of the year. So that principle makes me think that pinch U is inherently better a lot of the time than a push U, because you have lower distance travel.
I don't know how he comes to the same conclusion that push U
it's
is
not necessarily faster, but it's
weird
you to use the stronger part
with this logic instead of the just flicks being better logic.
Your muscles and different distance travel because of the angle that your finger is at when you're starting the turn. Third principle is to reduce co-contraction. So this is something that the
I don't know what this means, dog. I'm sorry. I don't understand.
climbing study and the piano study talked about, I believe. This is the idea of actively contracting opposing muscles in your hand and wrist. So in a couple of the studies, they talked about how when you activate muscles on one side of your hand, the muscles on the other side slow down. So if you're working really hard to stabilize your wrist, your finger muscles are going to slow down.
I don't think that's what those studies said.
In playing piano or maybe other instruments like violin, if you put too much tension in one muscle, all the other ones start to seize
It's
up.
about tension. It's not about
cubing, a couple of relevant
co-contraction.
examples for this would be if you are trying to learn how to do pinch F turns, which this happened to me, you end up putting a bunch of tension down your wrist and pinky because you're thinking so hard about stabilize the cube, stabilize
That's just because you're not good at it.
the cube, get my finger into position. But then in doing that, you're shooting yourself in the foot because you're losing the speed and strength in this finger because you're co-contracting. You're doing two muscles contracting at the same time. So with cubing, it's
Okay. No. That's not why you're bad at pinch F prime. You're bad at pinch F prime because you're not used to it. And you squeezing too hard with your pinky does not affect the velocity of your index finger doing the flick. Like that's just not how these kind of things work. Yeah, I think he is misinterpreting one of the studies. That's not what it said. It was talking about wrist tension. Co-contraction is like not a thing. And also if you're squeezing the hell out of the cube to do these moves when you first learn index F prime, that's the same motion. You're always using these muscles to hold the cube. Like the index abduction. No, this is adduction. Your pinky adduction is like, that is what you're using to hold the cube along with your thumb flexion. So like this motion, you are always using those muscles. It's just that when you're learning thumb F prime and getting used to it, you are contracting these muscles more than you would, but they're still contracted. You're still doing co-contraction. That's not why you're bad at thumb F prime.
loose, have a light grip on the cube, and only be active.
You should have a light grip on the cube.
And then the fourth, just logical principle.
But that doesn't.
Bottleneck
I don't know.
should always be you turning.
Bottleneck should always be turning, not reloading. Yeah, that's pretty
reloading.
obvious.
So by bottleneck, I mean what is preventing me from doing my next move? If you're doing an algorithm, there are two potential reasons that you are unable to do, three potential reasons you're unable to do.
That's such a weird way to conceptualize reloads.
So if I'm going to do RU, I literally cannot.
Like just try not like do reloads. Just like don't do reloads.
The bottleneck is just moving this layer. That's turning being the bottleneck. That's very good. Let's say
Yihang has a few algs that he does have reloads as the bottleneck.
It is possible for me to get to this point, and this finger isn't all the way back here yet. The time it takes me to reload my finger into the next position is the bottleneck instead of me actually completing each.
He's talking about
R
really prime.
That means that I've chosen suboptimal finger tricks because I'm just waiting on my fingers to reload to get to do my next turn, as opposed to waiting for me to literally complete one turn. One of those is just the laws of physics holding me back. The other one is me inefficiently allocating my resources.
Yeah, I agree.
The last way that you
100%.
can waiting turn is a regrip. That's the same thing as a reload. It's just repositioning your whole hand. So that's pretty obvious. So those are the principles. Consistent stabilizing grip. Minimize the distance your fingers have to travel. Don't co-contract.
So of these, 1, 2, and 4 are like good advice.
Loose grip as
I don't know what
possible,
co-contract.
and
I think he's
turn
overthinking.
So takeaways from that. Almost always, there is a marginal benefit to doing pinch U versus extension moves.
I don't know how he's correct. This is correct. But 5 minutes ago, or I mean, I guess like 30 minutes ago at this point, he was talking about how extension and flexion are the same. So I don't understand how he comes to this conclusion in like the back-ass way that he does. Because yeah, this is true. You should be doing this, like you should not be doing extension push U moves. You should, like, this is a bad finger trick. most of the time. I agree with his conclusion. I don't understand the logic here, like how he got to this point.
Stronger than extension, and on top of that, flexion tends to have a smaller range of motion. So that would be my argument for if an equal scenario between extension and
I don't think. I mean, yeah, range of motion is important, but like
pinch, prioritize pinch over extension. Thumb F moves only make sense when your stabilization does not matter. So an example of this being okay would be if you're finishing a T-perm, the last move of your
75% of the time, that's not going to be the last move of your solve, so just do a pinch F prime.
solve is this thumb move. It is okay for this hand to completely leave the cube after that, and then just finish your last AUF with your left hand. That's somewhere where I'm completely fine with.
You guys, y'all aren't doing T-perm UAUF with your right index?
This being my ending F move. But for something like a J perm, I have to.
I need to go to bed
So
soon.
the only times, in theory,
It's
you can
late
allow
as
yourself to
fuck.
do thumb F moves are when stabilization completely stops mattering. There are a few cases where reverse F makes a lot of sense in the context of the algorithm, but generally thumb F only makes sense.
Yeah, I
when
think
your
V
stabilization
perm
doesn't
is
matter
fine
anymore.
for that.
The third takeaway that I had from this stuff is that any sort of finger trick.
Okay, he's about to talk about the disjointed U2 prime. He's super wrong about this.
That requires a subtle shift in your stabilizing fingers
He's like super wrong about this.
for just a marginal time increase probably isn't worthwhile. So the example for this is the way Timon does his Y perm.
So Timon does, and Yihang and Ruhong and like all of the Chinese kids do this finger trick for Y perm. By the way, it's not a Timon thing. Let me solve this real quick. Oh my god, bro! I just like Z perm cross. Damn, I'm washed. Okay. So I'm just gonna explain it. It's a U2, but there's a move in between. So I'm gonna show you this. I know that you can't see from my perspective, but the back is actually the important part. So for Y perm, F, R, U prime, R prime, U prime. Okay? My camera is mirrored. That's the finger trick that he's talking about. It's not hard. It's weird the first time you do it until you realize that it's literally just a U2. All of the Chinese kids do this. It's not a Timon thing. It's very easy finger trick once you're accustomed to it. And I use it like in a lot of my algorithms at this point.
Timon's Y perm execution is really wild to me.
It's literally standard at this point.
He positions his left hand a little bit high up on the cube so that
No, he doesn't. Look. This is like the most wrong about this that he is in this video. Okay? I'm holding the cube. I'm doing my turns. I'm doing my OL. Y prime. F, R, U prime. This finger is not moving at all. There's no shift in stabilization. There's no you're not moving this finger at all. You are literally doing the exact same movement with your left hand that you would be in a U2. It's literally the same finger trick. Unless you think that U2s are bad, unless you think that double flick is bad, you can't make this argument. It's literally exactly the same as a U2 prime, just with the R in the middle. It's not changing your grip at all. This is just like how it works. I don't know. I don't want to be mean. He can do whatever he wants for Y perms. But this is bad advice because literally every fast Chinese cuber does this.
But most of the solve for me, my left hand looks like this. It's covering almost 2/3 of.
Yeah, I think your ring finger's just too low, dog. Ideally, you want to be able to go in and out of U2 moves, and the way that you do that is you have your ring finger here, closer to the border of this piece and this piece. In and out, I don't know, U2, this. I mean, obviously your finger's going to move a little bit no matter what, but it's the same thing as a U2 prime. I want to see him do a U2 prime.
Stabilizing my grip. So being able to kind of switch into this grip where both of these fingers are available to do U moves requires a stabilizing regrip. And the time
No, it doesn't. That's not a...
my current wireframe execution is so marginal that I don't think that would be worth it for me personally.
Wait, I want to see his current
My
wireframe
current wireframe
execution.
execution is so marginal that
Okay,
I
it's
don't
just
think that would be
no
worth it for
double
me
click.
personally.
Okay, so he was just talking about how he doesn't want reloads to be the limiting factor. And then he's like, this thing that Timon does that deletes the reload in the middle of this alg I don't want to do. You have a skill issue, big dog.
And then one last thing is Ado U moves are only bad
Ido.
when reload bottlenecks you. Otherwise, it's actually pretty good. So something a couple people have told me is I do this a lot in my solves. Reach around U move, which this is from OH solving, right? You can do push and U moves.
That's
you can also
really
do
bad.
And some people have told me, oh, this is something that top level solvers don't do, so you shouldn't do it.
You shouldn't do it at all.
I see no first principles reason that this is a bad finger trick unless me traveling this.
It's because
distance,
extensions are
putting my finger
bad.
Living here and getting into this position.
Pushes are bad.
Is the thing that's bottlenecking me. As long as I'm not getting reload bottleneck, but instead.
I mean, I do this for a lot of algs.
And there are several of my executions where I like being able to use this. Okay.
But like,
so those are some of my takeaways here. Quick reminder: double check if you're subscribed to the channel.
I think the only instance where Ido is worth it is when you're following a U prime. Like I do this for like U prime because it's right after a U prime and my finger is already here and I just have to like continue the motion to the front. So it's like I'm literally already in the position to do it. But like I wouldn't
like my videos and
it's not good. It's like it's very, very niche.
Okay, so
I wouldn't like
last
use it in F2L.
Objectively optimal finger tricks, whatever that means. So I didn't do a ton of solves.
Okay, yeah. What else are we talking about?
Levels that I switched. So I already said I don't think switching my Y perm and T perm is worth it.
Just learn the good finger tricks.
I considered switching my R.
I'm gonna skip through the last part of this. I don't really care about his progress or whatever. What did he consider switching his R perm to? I'm curious.
I'm gonna use my middle finger and index finger on my left hand, which is okay with me because my left hand is doing the stabilizing. My right hand has a lot of freedom, so my right middle index finger, I'm okay kind of regripping those up.
He's like, I'm cool doing a U2, just not a U2 prime.
Hold up, U, and then pinches for this F move, and then the rest of it's pretty standard. Pop right here, and then does U by pushing, and then
he doesn't do that. He's talking about Yihang, right?
Pinch F here, and then to do a pinch U here, and then pinch F here. So this is probably what I'm gonna switch to. I'm just
that's how you should do it.
Two other algs that I got new finger tricks for with PLL is my F perm. So the way Yihang does it is he regrips his thumb to the top right here, and then does U by.
He doesn't do that. I don't know. I don't know where you got this information, but this is not how Yihang does an F perm.
With over 2,800 locations,
I think this video has some incorrect.
$28 or more when you join for just
What is it, F perm? I guess they're going in alphabetical order. Yeah, I don't know why he does it like that, because he doesn't do that. Like, okay, I understand that he's getting it from this video, so totally reasonable for him to believe that, but Yihang does, it's actually something that I think Brandon would hate, given what he's talked about in this video, but Yihang does, Yihang does, I know that this is an awful way to see the cube. Yihang does R prime, U prime with his middle finger, and then F prime. Oops. Ruhang does this too. This is what the Chinese cubers are taught. So it's the same principle of keeping all of the moves flicks. They do R prime, U prime, and then F prime. That's the actual finger trick that Yihang does. I don't know why he forgot that for this video.
Pushing, and then pinches for this F move. And then the rest of it's pretty standard.
Yeah, that would be really bad.
R, U, F, or sometimes like this. But this it's such a minor regrip. You can basically roll the R move, and then as long as you can do that,
I think someone said that.
Golden into the rest of the algorithm. So that's my F perm switch. And then for my N perm, what I've been doing is using my finger over here.
This is correct.
So this is what I used to do. Boom, boom. and then thumb F move here, which is okay, but you kind of overwork this. You tend to get middle. So this perm team on head, a regrip where the cube stays stable.
Yeah, you should switch your E perm. Oh, this is the R2, R perm. Yeah, I don't know. That's the one Yihang uses. I don't really give a shit. I don't understand how. I mean, I get why people use it. It's just not. It's fine.
I switched a ton
It's
of
just
my
preference.
community posted about this. I'm not gonna go over the details of all this, but it's full up more really well. It's this case right here.
It's okay. Oh, I mean, I'm just being overly critical at this point. None of this really matters to me, but
this right here.
he does not figure this out correctly.
It just flows really.
He was just talking about how thumb Fs are bad, and then he's doing thumb Fs. Yeah, you should learn two-sided PLO. Yeah, I don't really care about his updates. So Brandon's a cool guy. He makes good YouTube videos. I don't have a problem with a lot of the stuff that he says. So this is great. Like this is good guidelines. I don't understand what he means by number 3. And I don't really understand how he reaches the conclusion that flicks are better than pushes, given the fact that he says that he doesn't think extension and flexion are different, which they obviously are, and then somehow like gets to this conclusion like independently somehow. I don't know. Where does he say that? Yeah, okay. Pin shoe is marginally better than extension. 100. It's actually a lot better. Like that's why Yihang does the middle U prime in his F prime. Thumb F is just bad always. Finger tricks to require shit. That's nonsense. Ido is only bad. Yeah, I mean. Yeah, okay. That's all my thoughts on the video. I'm making my own video kind of similar to this at the moment. I think mine is going to be a little bit more comprehensive and a little bit less. I mean, he makes some claims like this. Sorry. This is irrelevant to cubing. This is irrelevant to cubing. He also seems to think that strength matters for big cubes, which I mean, he just says that like without explanation. Climbers don't care. Typists, I do care. I don't know. Until we have data on cubing pointing to like exercise science or like biometrics about other things is basically irrelevant to me. I don't care if you're doing this, all of your fingers move at approximately the same speed during flexion and extension. I don't care. It's not relevant. Like, it's just not analogous. And like, I get that Brandon wanted to do a video like this and kind of just like did a little bit of research on it and like just found relevant-ish studies. And like, to be like, all credit to Brandon. This is like, these are pretty like probably the most relevant that like studies that I could find as well. Like I'm hip to all of this. There's a few I would have included that he didn't because I think that typing is more analogous to cubing than any of the other stuff. The main thing I think that Brandon's getting mixed up is that like strength and speed are like not the same thing. Like the velocity, I mean, they're related. But like the velocity you can move your finger is not like, it's not like a product of how strong your grip strength is. Like I promise you, Yihang's grip strength is probably not even remarkable if you compare it to other people his age. It's probably normal. It's like a different thing. So yeah, I don't like, I think everything that he says in this video, like if you just started cubing and you take everything he says in this video as gospel, you're going to have better turning fundamentals than like 90% of American cubers. But the thing is, there's a few little things in here that I'm like not in full agreement with, and I think that the Chinese coaches really have this shit on lock. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, go ahead and take this video as gospel. I don't really care. It's good advice. It's a great video. I just think that some of his presentation of the literature is a little bit amateur, which is fine. I know Brandon's not a scientist. I think he did a great job given that this is just for a YouTube video. I'm just a fucking nerd and I like this shit. And yeah, it's totally fine. It's like a totally fine thing. There's not a lot of studies that are even really remotely comparable to cubing, honestly. Like, I can't think of another skill that's like, how fast can you flick your finger? Like, how fast can you do this and this? Typing is the closest thing, but typing is all of your fingers. And typing is more about optimizing the motion among your fingers, which is like similar to cubing, but in cubing, there's like 3 or 4 fingers that just don't really do anything. So yeah, I'm rambling at this point. I don't really know what the conclusion of this video should be. Basically, Brandon's right for the most part. I think the logic he uses is a little bit flawed, but I think his conclusions are ultimately valuable for most people. I do think number 3 is just complete nonsense, by the way. But like, when he's explaining it, it sounds overly complicated. So I'm pretty sure that people who are just like watching this video are probably just like gonna not understand it and then just do 1, 2, and 4 anyway. So yeah, that's all I got. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to say. Yeah, flicks are better than pushes. You should never push with your middle finger, ever. I don't care if Tommy does it. Yeah, don't do thumb F moves, ever. You never have to do a thumb F move. You can always do an index or a ring F move. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Great video, Brandon. I know that I was overly critical in this video, but that's like the point. And no one's gonna watch this video anyway. So, all right, later.